Today, we're bringing you another installment of the Sunbelt Business Brokers Franchise Spotlight. My name is Gregory Evans. I'm a vice president with Sunbelt Business Brokers and M&A. We are the nation's oldest and most well-respected business brokerage firms. And I'm very excited today to bring our guest, Ms. Laura Spaulding. She is president of Spaulding Decon. Spaulding Decon is the foremost provider of disinfection and biohazard services across the country, and they routinely interface with insurance companies, funeral homes, and police departments around the country. They specialize in accident cleanup and sanitation of communicable diseases. Their services include COVID-19 disinfection, hoarding cleanup, crime scene cleanup, biohazard cleanup, water damage restoration, mold remediation, and finally, they have a real estate division that I think you'll find incredibly interesting. So I want to welcome Laura Spaulding with Spaulding Decon. Good afternoon, Laura. How are you today?
Good. Thanks for having me, Greg.
Good. This is such an awesome opportunity. You know, I've followed Spaulding Decon for a number of years, and I just want to sit back and listen to this story. And I want others to be able to listen to this story because I think it's just absolutely incredible. I know you started out as a police officer, so if you can go through everything from the time you got started as a police officer all the way to your real estate division that you're doing today.
Okay. So I started the company in 2005. I was working in law enforcement for 7 years at the time, and I did, undercover narcotics, undercover vice, a bunch of different stuff. I was in the Midwest in Kansas City, and I saw an opportunity when a woman approached me that was the family member of a homicide victim, and she said, "When are you guys coming back to clean this up?" You guys meaning the police. And I thought, oh my God, I've never been asked that question before. I didn't know how to answer it. Kind of shame on me. So I did some research and asked homicide unit, CSI. I'm asking everybody, hey, who does this? What's the protocol? And everybody had the same answer. We don't know. It's not our problem. It's the property owner's issue. Um, you know, don't say anything because you don't know. So I thought, wow, this is a niche that is probably more needed than we would ever think, because it's not just crime scenes. It's unattended deaths, it's accidents, it's suicides, it's biohazard from rodent droppings, coronavirus type disinfection. So it's much more pervasive than just kind of the tagline crime scene cleaning. So I decided to start the company in 2005, and my initial idea was to kind of do it in moonlight at both jobs, and then it kind of grew into an animal of its own. And I had to make a decision, and I decided to take it and see where it goes. So 2006, I'm like, if I'm going to start my company and just do this, I'm going to live where I want to live. So I moved back to Florida, where I was from, and I've been here ever since. And so this is our 16th year we're going on. And I decided to franchise in 2016. So, we had many years under our belt. We now have 43 locations, pretty spread out across the US. Most of our owners own more than one location, despite the fact that the territories are quite large. They're 500,000 people. We take our territories and we focus on metropolitan areas. We do have what we call mini territories. So like if you own a Detroit, for example, Detroit's the metro. And if you wanted to buy a mini territory, that would be considered like maybe a bedroom community or a little suburb. And we charge, it's like 10 cents a person at 100,000 people. So it's pretty inexpensive to grab that in and attach it to your main territory. So the main services are lots of verticals for us. Franchisees have 14 streams of revenue, so quite a bit. The crime scene cleaning is a big one. Hoarding is another big one. Mold remediation, water restoration, drug lab cleanup, and then real estate acquisitions. So everything is covered by homeowners insurance with the exception of hoarding. So we don't have any AR problems, any problems getting paid. And then we've also partnered with a finance company. So if our customers can't afford our services for whatever reason, the finance company will pay us, and then the homeowner will make payments to them. So that way our franchisees aren't financing internally.
Very good, very good. Tell us about your story. I know you started out as a police officer in Kansas City. You've done everything as a police officer, from
Yeah, a little bit.
narcotics to prostitution. Talk about that a little
Hmm.
bit.
Yeah, so I after college, I went to the University of Tennessee. I applied to basically every major metro, Atlanta and Phoenix and Dallas and stuff. So Kansas City was the first place that hired me. So I went out there and started out in patrol. I was very young, 23 years old, making a whopping $28,000 a year. Kind of a joke considering what you're doing out there. And after 18 months, I applied to be in the street narcotics unit. So I did a lot of undercover work, um, with not only street level, but kind of a little bit larger level. And then I did the undercover vice at the same time, everything from kind of Craigslist type prostitution stuff to street prostitution.
Mhm.
So I was very, a big risk taker, so to speak, obviously. And I just realized at one point, like, what am I doing here? When I was in narcotics for about a year and a half, I was making like $39,000 a year. And I'm like, this isn't worth it. There's no amount of money that can put you in a crack house with no gun, no backup, and no wire. So, it just was one of those moments. I'm like, I got to do something else. So, I'm spinning my wheels and trying to think of what can I do? What's a good parallel for me? And then that lady asking me that question was really a light bulb moment.
Interesting, interesting. So what did you do right after that? I mean, I know it took a little while to get Spaulding Decon up and running, because I've known the firm for a little while.
Yep.
What was the light bulb? I mean, what was that startup moment that got you really going? And talk
You
about
know,
some of the difficulty of getting the franchise going.
Well, there was difficulties in several phases. So at the beginning, when I was just kind of running it on my own, I had no money, no loans, no nothing. So everything was guerrilla marketing. I'm printing my own, business cards. Uh, didn't really have a website, nothing. I'm literally going door to door to funeral homes and property management companies and hotels and just trying to get the word out because I
Mhm.
didn't have that marketing dollars. Um, so obviously that took a while. I hired my first part-time employees in 2006 when I came to Florida, and I realized one of the benefits of this business is it's super simple to hire people. Everybody is very enamored with this type of business, and I knew that I could get part-time people that were used to this type of work if they came from like EMTs, or they worked as like a mortuary person or in the funeral industry or a firefighter. So those were initially kind of my first people, and they were fantastic because they helped me with big jobs. I was kind of an owner operator model. And I grew slowly. I definitely grew slowly because I didn't have, that capital from coming from the outside to help me.
Mhm.
And again, when I decided to start franchising, no capital from anywhere else. I used the revenue from my own corporate store here in Tampa, Florida, and really kind of bootstrapped it. And we grew slowly. We tried to learn how to vet and pick franchise partners, which was, that's challenging,
Mhm.
to pick someone that's the correct for your system. And we've had a lot of growing pains, but now we're experiencing explosive growth. And we've been able to really build out things that many large systems have, that we've brought in-house very early on. So I've spared no expense when it comes to marketing and helping franchise partners get to where they want to be very quickly.
Yeah, I know that at one time, years back, you were helping some of the smaller towns that did not have crime scene cleanup.
Yeah.
Tell me about that a little bit, as to and where you are today in terms of some of the larger cities. Are you still doing that type of work for some of the smaller towns, and what
Well,
have you graduated to?
Working with the smaller towns is more of been of a reactive thing. Like if they need us, we'll travel to them to do
Hmm.
that. But because of our explosive growth, we've been able to do like a really cool program. We give a free franchise away to a veteran, and we do that once a year. We get tons of applicants for it, and we
Really?
choose that person on Veterans Day. Yeah, so that's our way of being able to give back. We started it last year, and so
Hmm.
this year will be our second year, and as you can imagine, we get a ton of applicants. Obviously, the territory is free, but you still have to have the capital to be able to run your business. So,
Right.
sometimes people think that everything is free.
All of it.
So,
Right.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So we try to give back as much as possible and spread that through the system. So we have like a hoarding cleanup giveaway that we do around the holidays. And that's typically each franchise partner can opt in or out on that. And it's great PR for us, as well as we're helping somebody in the community that's typically elderly that
Hmm.
can't either afford us or help themselves. So that's been fantastic for us. I've been doing that for many, many years, and I'm glad some of the franchisees are jumping on board with that as well.
Now, I know you mentioned the type of employees that were easy to find, but let's turn our attention to the type of candidates
Hmm.
that ideal candidates. What have been some of the ideal candidates you've seen for this type of franchise?
Well, one of the things is we've seen in our successful franchise partners is they're either really good at sales or
Hmm.
they have the extra capital to hire that business development person. Now, selling this is not like selling a vacuum cleaner with, 700 other products on the market.
Hmm.
This is an empathetic positioning to where you would sell the service as a 24-hour emergency assistance type thing. So you can't just well, we don't recommend that you just put, a bunch of money into Google and sit by the phone and wait for it to ring. I think there needs to be a more of a proactive stance on it. You need to reach out to, your funeral homes and your hotels and your police departments and property managers, because think about it, hotels, property managers, they have a ton of people under one roof essentially. They're going to have situations where this happens. Funeral homes are a great partner for us as well, because a lot of times people will pass and the family's out of state and they're asking the funeral home for a referral for, hey, how do we clean this up? And then that's where our real estate comes in as well. So if they don't want to pay for the cleanup, they don't want to come out of pocket for anything, we'll make them a cash offer to buy the property in as is condition. They pay no closing costs, no commissions, nothing. They walk away with the whole check. We'll even box up stuff that they want and ship it off to them. We'll move items for them. Anything that they want, we customize it. So a lot of times that is the preferred way to go, especially for large families that have assets to split. They really don't just want to take a long time to go through probate or, try to fix up this house only to turn around and sell it, or, have some buyer on the MLS nickel and dime you on every light fixture or something. It's as is our offer, and we close in 7 days. So this is something that we've taught our franchise partners how to do, and they've been able to create massive wealth in the real estate side.
That is interesting. How did you get involved in that business? And because I know when I first found out about Spaulding Decon, you weren't in that business yet, you know.
No,
And so when did that start? And then and what activated that? Was it a particular deal that did that, or
yeah,
how did
it
it go?
was. So what happened was it was probably 2015, 2016, around there. I was at a hoarding estimate and it was in deplorable condition. And the lady made a comment of, we just need to get this cleaned up so I can get her moved out.
Hmm.
And again, a light bulb moment. And I said, well, I would be interested in buying this. And I'm thinking as like keeping it as a rental. And she said, oh my God, really? And I said, yeah, let me put some numbers together and see what I could offer you. And she said, okay, please do. And I said, obviously it's not going to be like a full price offer because of the condition of this place. It was horrible. And she said, no, 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 I totally get it. She said, the HOA is completely on our backs. We got to get out of this. So I ran some comps and I figured out, this condo is worth about $65,000-$70,000 in good condition. I offered her $5,000 for the condo and she took it.
Really?
I did, she did, and then I put $18,500 in complete rehab in it, and
Mhm.
then I resold it for 65,000.
Wow.
So that was the moment I was like, wait a minute, I think we can do this across the board. But I wanted to create a process for it in a system before I just said, hey guys, go ahead and do this.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
what I did was I did a few more and I structured the deals differently. And I wasn't using any money out of pocket because I was borrowing it from hard money lenders, which I have leveraged now to support our entire system. So it's they're not just loaning money to me, they're loaning money to any of our franchise partners who need it.
Mhm.
So it's become such a big side of our business that it's actually a separate division at this point, where we have acquisition managers. We're actually hiring a general contractor in house. So it's becoming really big business. Now, the thing that sets us apart from us and say like a home investors
Mhm.
is sending out direct mail pieces, hoping that someone will sell their home. We're not paying one penny for marketing. We're getting these calls from people that need some type of property restoration, and we're spinning it as an option to buy. So when we're making these offers, we have zero competition. No one else is bidding on the house because it doesn't fall under any particular mailing list. It's not a death, it's not a probate, it's not a foreclosure.
What percentage of your business is in that now as a
Well,
whole?
each location varies,
Mhm.
but the Tampa location, we're doing about 20 deals a year. So it's considerable. We've got a lot of rehabs going. I'm keeping a bunch of them as rentals because of the cash flow on those, and just kind of creating a portfolio.
Who ever would have thought that a business like this would have turned into a huge real estate business?
Yeah, right.
You know,
Exactly.
that's just
A lot of
absolutely.
people think that, and so we're getting a lot of interest from franchisees that are or candidates that are interested in flipping houses or um, you know rehabbing houses. And the cool thing is like a company like Homevestors, they have a ton of fees because you're paying for all that marketing. We have one flat rate fee on the real estate. It's only 2,500 bucks. That's it. So whether you make 200 grand or 10 grand, you're
Mhm.
only paying $2,500 in royalties.
Now, you guys have got a great franchise disclosure document. Let's talk
Yeah,
about
thank
that a
you.
little bit. Your item 19 is just outstanding. Um, uh, let's talk about that a little bit in terms of what a franchisee can expect in their first year, or and what your top guy is doing right now. Let's talk about that a little bit. What people can
Yeah,
expect in terms of earnings.
we're a young franchise still. So since 26, we're going on our fifth year here. So 2019 was the first year we were able to have an item 19.
Hmm.
Our average gross sales for 2019 was like 360 some $1,000. And then it literally doubled in 2020. We had 669 is the average gross sales. So that's considerable amount of difference there. Our average ticket item for each job is around $4,700. So we're making a high volume, or I'm sorry, low volume in terms of turn up. We're not like a junk removal business where we have to have like 50 jobs a day. We'll maybe have one job a day, but we're making more than those guys that are doing, $300-400 jobs.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
the margins are fantastic for us. Our lowest margin service is hoarding, and that roughly is about 60% profit margin. And
Hmm.
our highest margin is biohazard, and that's roughly 85 to 90%. It's excellent.
Wow, that's really good. That's really good.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah, talk about what it costs to get involved in this franchise.
Yeah, we're considered a low cost entry because we're right under $150,000. So it's basically split up into four categories: $45,000 for your territory fee. You do get a veteran discount if you're a veteran, 10% off. Any subsequent territories are automatically discounted to 35,000. Then you have royalties of 8%, except real estate. Real estate's a flat rate of 2,500. The national brand fund is 3%. And then you have a technology fee that's 300 bucks a month, and that pays for your website, your estimating software, and all of the different little things that we use for the call, the phone features, and the after hours call center.
Interesting. I know, I don't know if people know this, but I know you had mentioned this morning something about a reality show. Can you talk about that at all?
Yeah.
That's still under wraps. So what's going on there?
Yeah, it's not been signed yet, but we've been we signed with a LA production company who is pitching us to HGTV, who is looking for a company that flips hoarder houses and crime scene type houses, and we're really the only ones doing it. So we don't really have anybody that we're kind of competing against, and it's different than your normal flipper show, because those are, they're typically buying them off the courthouse steps or a foreclosure or something. When we buy these houses, I mean, we're doing extreme cleanups, and then we're doing very, very large rehabs to the point where we're changing the floor plans and we're making the home just completely different on the inside. So we have a different kind of spin on it. And I think that's exactly what they're looking for. So time will tell.
Yeah, what's interesting is that there's crime all over the country.
Mhm.
That's for sure. Um, just about everywhere. These days.
Yep.
And I know when I saw some of the pictures, and maybe if you go to the website, you'll see some of the pictures. I
Hmm.
could understand why a family, when a loved one, gets shot in the home, or there's a suicide, or there's an extreme situation, that they
Yeah.
wouldn't want that house.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
There's a lot of bad juju. A lot of
yeah,
people don't want to live in that. And I don't blame them.
oh yeah, absolutely. Talk about the areas that you want to focus on, because I know you're in quite a few parts of the country now.
Yeah.
Yeah, what parts of the country are you really looking for to continue to focus on? I mean, I know there could be a lot of places, but uh,
Yeah, well,
areas.
we have some gaps. Again, we're 43 locations. We got a lot of gaps. So, but where we're getting calls and we're unable to service them because our franchisees are just too far away,
Mhm.
are kind of the panhandle of Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, Oklahoma, Nebraska, Kansas. Those are kind of the gaps for us where we're getting calls for service. We just aren't able to service them because no one's close enough.
Mhm. Um, what does it take in terms of staffing when you first get started? What kind of staffing can a franchisee expect? Is it going to be full time, or does he need some part time people? How would that work? Or what are you seeing in that area?
Yeah, so we have some options. So it depends on how involved the owner is. If it's an owner operator that intends on doing, all the estimates, him or herself, and managing the crew, then they would really only need two part-time people to work with them. If they
Mhm.
wanted to be more hands off, they would hire a project manager. That would be your sole full-time person, and then two part-time people to assist that person.
Um, talk about a metropolitan area versus probably a more rural area in terms of what you're seeing there.
We don't focus on any territories in rural areas. We want everyone to have a good amount of population in a condensed area.
Hmm.
So again, that would be like a mini territory. But for example, like we have a guy that bought all of Nashville, which was two territories, and then is looking at getting a mini territory in Clarksville, which a lot of
Oh,
people
yeah.
probably don't know where Clarksville is, but
Yeah.
it's like a suburb.
Hmm.
So he wants to encapsulate that in part of it. So we're not like, if you take a state like Nebraska, we'd probably sell Lincoln and Omaha. That's it. So I'm not focused on the rural areas. Whoever owns the area closest to a rural area just gets it. Just gets it. You don't have to pay for that.
It's interesting because when I looked at this opportunity, I looked at funeral homes. I've
Hmm.
got a few funeral home clients. I could see them wanting to do this business. I could certainly see veterans, wanting
Yeah.
to do this business. What about police officers? Have they
Yep.
been folks who do this?
We
Uh,
do. We have a couple of those
mhm.
that are just basically, again, kind of like I was tired of that glass ceiling and, just the shitty pay, shitty hours type thing. So they're looking at just becoming a business owner. And military have been really the best because they are proven at being adept at following a system and making it happen. they're not, there's no excuses, there's no blame game. You give them the system, they follow it, and they do great.
And that's been the case with franchises in general.
Yeah.
They love veterans.
Yeah. Oh
They
yeah.
follow directions. They're used to running teams.
Yep.
And like you say, they're not complainers.
Nope.
They're great management people for the most part.
Agreed.
You know,
Agreed.
outstanding. This is really an interesting opportunity. Um, and I remember when you guys got started years ago.
Yeah.
And I happened to see, I was on one of your calls recently, and I was just
Uh-huh.
simply stunned. You know,
Awesome.
I just had no idea, from where you
Yeah.
guys have been to where you are now,
It's
particularly
been
in
a
real
roller
estate.
coaster, Greg.
Yeah, I know it is because I've seen some of the other YouTubes. I know it has not been easy,
Yeah, not at all.
but you have absolutely done an unbelievable job.
Thank you.
From where you have come, and this real estate business you got is just a star.
Wow. I'm telling you, that was, I got to say, that was probably my best idea yet.
Yeah. Well, talk about some of the things you're looking at doing in the future. I mean, what's on the drawing board for the future for Spaulding Decon?
Yeah. So, we'd like to get an internal fund. Is on my radar here for the next 3 to 5 years. We'd like to get an internal fund that basically excludes that middleman, and all franchise partners are making money off of the fund as well.
Mhm.
So it's pretty complex, but essentially what it is it's like everyone, all the franchisees getting their own self-directed IRA and loaning it out to each other for 10% interest. So we're all making money on each deal instead of paying someone else to get the deal. So that's one of the things that I'm trying to structure right now. We have a really great marketing team that I brought in-house that handles our social media. That's crazy off the chain. We get most of our franchise candidates from social media.
Mhm.
We've got about 4 million people following us on TikTok. We have over 50 million views on our YouTube channel. We've been given awards by YouTube for our subscriber count. So we've been able to really leverage social media, which is free, in developing the brand. And every one of our franchise partners has gotten work or employees off of it. It's been fantastic.
Entrepreneur Magazine has covered you. A lot of people know
Mhm.
about you now. When a person buys one of these franchises, from a marketing perspective, what would be the top 2 or 3 things that you think they need to do to get started and to get started quickly? What would you recommend?
The first thing is market, market, market. If you're not going to do it, you need to have a business development person out there hitting all of those lead sources that I mentioned prior. That's
Mhm.
one. Number two, don't try to pinch pennies on your online advertising. That's crucial. And number three is, what sets yourself apart is you're going to create lunch and learns, networking meetings, educational type stuff, and you're going to be part of the community that everybody thinks when there's a hurricane or where there's mold or something, we know who to call. So those are the three top things that we recommend that franchisees do. And when they do it, they're very, very successful.
Outstanding. This has really been interesting. I'm
Thank you.
glad it's kind of tough catch. I know you were on vacation there for a minute,
Yeah,
and but I really appreciate you doing this.
it's my
I
pleasure,
think
Greg.
there's a lot of people who will be interested in this franchise. I, in particular, am very, very interested in representing this franchise. I think there's a lot of folks out there when they find about the Spaulding Decon story, and a lot of people still don't know about you guys.
Yeah, yeah,
You know,
definitely.
and this is a really interesting tour. One of the most innovative franchise I've ever seen.
Thank
You
you.
know, and so I'm wishing you the absolute best of luck. You can expect that I'm gonna do everything I can, as well, to work with you guys because I really think this is an outstanding franchise, and I really, really appreciate you doing this today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's my pleasure.
Great, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.